With Captain Marvel getting her own movie, it is really changing the game for women-led superhero movies. Remember years ago when studio execs thought no one would go see a Black Widow movie because a female hero couldn't drive an entire film or even action figure sales? Laughable. While there's still work to be put in, lady-led superhero movies are becoming major blockbusters, and now Captain Marvel will be added to the prestigious lineup of kick-ass superheroine stories. So to prepare for Captain Marvel's first appearance, why not learn everything about her? Here is the untold truth about Captain Marvel. But first, make sure to hit that subscribe button for more videos from CBR. Brie Larson is cast. Late in the summer of 2016, actress and singer Brie Larson was set to play Captain Marvel, aka Carol Danvers. You may recognize Larson from her other movies such as 21 Jump Street and indie fave Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. We're sure that Brie can do justice to the source material, and she will have awesome direction seeing that the film is co-directed by Anna Boden and has 6 women credited to the screenplay. It feels like the movie is in good hands.
I believed in you. I named myself after you. All this time I thought you were out there fighting for us.
Taking the Captain Marvel title. You may be surprised to learn that Carol Danvers is not the OG Captain Marvel. In fact, she's far from it. A lot of badass people showed her the superhero robes before she took on the Captain Marvel name herself. So gear up for a quick rundown of many incarnations of the hero. Captain Marvel was first introduced way back in the 1970s in Marvel Superheroes number 12 as Mar-Vell, a member of the alien race Kree who was sent to spy on Earth to see if humans were a threat or not. After he became sympathetic to Earth's inhabitants, he became the hero Captain Marvel and eventually dies from cancer. The title was then passed down to Monica Rambeau, a New Orleans Harbor Patrol lieutenant who was hit with extra-dimensional energy and thus transformed into Captain Marvel. She did a lot of good with the role, and even goes on to lead the Avengers at one point before losing her powers and surrendering the title to Genus Vell, son of the original Captain Marvel. Genus falls at the hands of Baron Zemo, and Phyla-Vell, Genus' sister, takes the Captain Marvel moniker. Then the young Kree Novar, and finally the name Captain Marvel was left to Carol Danvers. There's a lot to live up to for Miss Danvers, that's for sure.
Enough.
She fights more than just supervillains. Sure, Carol Danvers has superpowers and uses them to kick major butt, but crime and supervillains aren't the only thing she's fighting. She fought for equal pay back in the Miss Marvel comics against none other than Marvel's most stubborn editor-in-chief, J. Jonah Jameson of the Daily Bugle. And before that, she's completed training at an Air Force academy. After that, she was recruited into the CIA, and it would be there that she'd meet Nick Fury and everyone's favorite loner, Logan. After being briefly imprisoned by the KGB, she took a job at NASA as a security director. It was during this time that she met the first Captain Marvel, Mar-Vell, in Marvel Superheroes. And then after NASA, she found a job at the Daily Bugle as an editor for Woman magazine. Phew! She had quite the job resume even before she became a super.
Why?
Earth cannot survive what's coming.
She's actually an alien hybrid. Like we mentioned before, Carol Danvers was the security chief at NASA when she first ran into the original Captain Marvel, who was the alien Mar-Vell. He impersonated a doctor who died en route to where she was stationed, only to later be attacked by a villain named Jan Rog in Captain Marvel number 18. During that fight, a Kree device called the Kree Psyche Magneton exploded, catching Danvers in its energy and somehow melding her physiology with that of Mar-Vell's, creating a Kree-human hybrid within the oblivious Carol Danvers. Thus, she developed her powers, becoming incredibly strong, fast, and durable. She could also fly and use limited precognitive abilities. However, it wasn't just her DNA that changed. Captain Marvel's knowledge and skills had also been granted to her, including being able to fight just like a Kree warrior.
You don't know me at all.
Miss Marvel. You may have heard Carol Danvers being referred to as Miss Marvel and Captain Marvel, but don't get confused, she's the same person. As you recall, she got her powers from the Kree Mar-Vell. She decided to take the name of the alien who gave her such powers. Take that hyphen out and you've got Marvel, thus the name Miss Marvel. Still with us? Great. As Miss Marvel, Carol was first shown taking on the Scorpion in Miss Marvel number 1, and she whooped him so more easily than Spider-Man. The web-slinger was actually someone who would soon find herself fighting alongside more frequently, especially when she was invited in temporarily to join the Avengers in Avengers number 183. Despite being a match for any foe and definitely proving herself to be a valuable member of the team, she didn't remain with the Avengers for long. Although there was a point when she returned and even ended up leading them as per Tony Stark's request in Mighty Avengers number 1, in the aftermath of the Civil War story arc, Miss Marvel would continue fighting for the new Avengers. She even went against the X-Men when the Phoenix Force made its way to Earth in the Avengers vs. X-Men story arc. So let's just say there were a lot of heroic victories thanks to her. Another important point in Ms. Marvel's history is when she faced off against the X-Men mutant Rogue. When Rogue used her power-absorbing ability on Carol, she accidentally absorbed too much of Carol's persona and permanently drained Ms. Marvel's memories and powers. Thankfully, Professor Xavier was able to restore Carol's mind and abilities.
Ronan, right? You wanted Earth to surrender? Guess what? It's your turn.
Ms. Marvel's unique origins. The blast from the Psyche Magneton was powerful enough to kill both Jan Rog and stun even the powerful Mar-Vell, so it's no wonder that a mere human like Carol Danvers would suffer some form of trauma from being hit by the blast as well. She started having the occasional blackout whenever danger was near. Little did she know that during those blackouts she would actually transform into the formidable Kree fighter Ms. Marvel, flying across the sky in a costume given to her by the Psyche Magneton. Yeah, she was kicking butt and didn't even know it. Over time, Carol Danvers would discover how powerful she really was. Ms. Marvel and Carol would become one and the same, thanks to Ronan the Accuser, who probed her fragmented mind in Ms. Marvel number 19, while trying to rid the Earth of runaway Kree. More than one superhero. Carol Danvers already has her long list of cool superpowers, but she also gained several power sets over the years and with them new alter egos. These weren't always received by choice though, like when she was known as Binary. Carol Danvers became the powerful Binary after an adventure with the X-Men resulted in Ms. Marvel being experimented on in Uncanny X-Men number 163 by the Brood, an alien race. By tapping into the strange force known as a white hole, she could generate the power of a star, which increased her strength and speed, as well as granted her the ability to control heat, light, and gravity. More cool powers to add to her ever-growing list! After her connection to the white hole energy was severed, she retained some of her newer powers, but only kinda. She abandoned Binary and took on the name Warbird through comic issues in the 90s and on through the 2000s. Struggles with drinking. Something that made Carol even more complex and honestly relatable was her seeing her struggles in her civilian life. Every superheroes have their demons, but hers were especially heavy and intense. She wrestled with the many past crises, including the emotional emptiness she felt after losing part of her identity, as well as all the traumatic events leading up to it. She eventually would turn to alcohol, and her drinking almost caused her to endanger a plane filled with passengers. This situation gave her the wake-up call she needed to get her life back in order, attending AA meetings and confronting her inner demons. We still don't know if Marvel intends on showing this part of Carol's story in the movie, but we think it would be a great idea to showcase her weakness and her emotional strength instead of just her physical.
Sorry, Cap, this won't kill you, but it ain't gonna tickle either.
She got a BF. Well, kinda. We aren't sure if we will see this in the movie, but Carol Danvers and Rhodey, aka War Machine, aka James Rupert Rhodes, aka Iron Man's BFF, have a low-key relationship starting in 2014's Captain Marvel number 1. This lasted quite a while and seemed to be heading somewhere until Rhodey met his unfortunate end in Civil War II. Could we see something akin to that in the upcoming films when Captain Marvel meets the Avengers? There's a lot of potential here in regards to drama and the possible twists we could see on film. While Rhodey and Danvers obviously enjoy each other's company, Danvers and Stark, Rhodey's best friend, don't get along quite as well, or at least in the comics, which we can bet would make for some hilarious dialogue and Tony Stark quips in the film.
Captain Marvel, you are needed.
My first day off in months, and now I get the call.
Major comic controversy. As you can probably tell, Captain Marvel is a feminist icon for many reasons, but her existence in the Marvel comic book realm has spurred major controversy as well. In Avengers number 200, Ms. Marvel, who was with the Avengers at the time, became pregnant, gave birth, and raised a child all in the span of a few days. Her child would be named Marcus, the son of Immortus, who brainwashed and impregnated her, also he could reincarnate himself. He planned on influencing Carol Danvers' emotions to force her to love him, so she would return with him to his universe called Limbo. Talk about creepy. Her son Marcus would die when they reached Limbo, though, as his accelerated healing made him rapidly age to the point he turned to death and ash. Carol then returned to Earth, regained her memories, and shunned the Avengers, rightly so in Avengers Annual number 10. Because of the horrifying assault to Captain Marvel, this storyline was criticized by many, including comic book historian Carol A. Strickland, who wrote an essay devoted to the controversial story.
Can you back off? You're scaring me a little.
I'll make sandwiches.
She was almost on Jessica Jones. For fans of the Netflix series Jessica Jones, some may recognize a few of Carol Danvers' characteristics in Jones's adoptive sister and best friend, Trish Walker. That's likely because the character of Trish was introduced to replace Carol Danvers, who, in the comics, is one of a few close friends Jessica Jones has. During the switch from ABC to Netflix, while the series was still in its early phases, the character of Carol Danvers was set to appear in her own film, which of course meant that a preceding appearance in the Netflix original series would be impossible. Poor planning? Maybe. Showrunner Melissa Rosenberg stated that in the end, Trish was much more appropriate for Jessica Jones, as her powers don't match or surpass Jones, which all worked out in the end. Not to mention, Carol Danvers has bigger fish to fry in her upcoming films.
Thank you for the information. I'd like you to go now.
And that about does it for this list, but trust us, there was plenty more to add about the long history and this amazing, intense life Captain Marvel has led. What are your favorite facts about Captain Marvel? What do you think will happen in her movie? Tell us what you think in the comment section below. Click that subscribe button and check out some more videos from CBR. Bye for now.